I've had acquaintance with people, vegans, who did some very bizarre things. They'd have cans of paint in their dining room. They'd have bottles of antifreeze and motor oil in the back of their car. And between the trunk and the people area, the cabin area, there's no vapor barrier necessarily. Sometimes all it is a piece of cloth or just the back seat. And sometimes it's not a trunk. It's not an enclosed trunk because it's something like a station wagon in which it's open to the airspace of the trunk area is open to the airspace of the cabin area where the people are sitting. So you've got all these bottles, and oh yeah, they're tightly sealed, yeah, but what if they leak? Antifreeze has no odor. Late onset diabetes, adult type 2 diabetes, I suspect in some cases, which could be more than just some for all we know, are because of poisoning from man-made toxic chemicals. And antifreeze is right up there on the list because it does bring on late onset adult diabetes. Late onset diabetes because if you don't know you've been, sticking your nose over the open radiator when it's steaming, you don't know you're coming down with that due to a prior incident months or years ago that took a while to develop. Let's say it's months. Because nobody knows how toxic it is, and nobody would suspect, well, why do they insist that your warranty will be voided on an American-made car if you use something other than their designated antifreeze? You don't get to use propylene glycol, which is extremely safe. No, you have to use toxic ethylene glycol. Or else you'll void the warranty. They want us to get sick. So they can diagnose us with late onset adult diabetes type 2, when in reality it's just antifreeze poisoning. I've seen this happen already. So these instances are amazing. And this is what I am confronted with because of my own antifreeze poisoning 13 years ago. My pancreas has a problem, and my digestion has a problem. And I don't digest starches as well as I used to. In fact, I was on a raw food diet at the time, and I was making crackers. I had a dehydrator, Excalibur, top of the line, 9 trays, and I had a meat grinder. And I don't recall how I grew the wheat sprouts, but I grew various grain sprouts, and I'd grind them in the meat grinder, lay them out on the special material they have you add. It's a plastic insert that you put on top of your trays when you want to do what do you call them? Fruit peels or fruit fraps. I'm not sure. You blend you puree the fruit and you pour it on, but it's a plastic thing you lay down on top of your screen tray, because the screen tray is for drying fruits and vegetables, so you have air circulating both top and bottom. But when you want to do or if you want to dehydrate yogurt, a liquid. When you want to dehydrate a liquid, you put down this plastic piece on your trays. So I would put my homogenized wheat berry sprouts passed through the meat grinder on that, and I dehydrate them, and I have a cracker. And so I was able to take the raw starch of the wheat berry and the very difficult chewing of a wheat berry, even when it's sprouted, and homogenize it and break it up and then dehydrate it into a cracker. And I'd add garlic, I'd add ginger, I'd add cayenne pepper to flavor it. And so I had myself crackers. And I'd have buckwheat lettuce. And so I had a whole nice diet. I had a juicer to make carrot juice, and I had raw tahini, and it was one of my favorite. And then I would make a blender drink of carrot juice with possibly a little beet juice, and I'd throw in maybe a half a lemon or a whole lemon, including the rind and seeds, or maybe I'd alternate when use an apple. And I'd whip up a few leaves of some very strong-tasting leafy green, like kale or collard greens, and then put in the tahini. So I'd transfer, put all this in a blender to blend up. And it was a great blender drink. It was so nutritious and delicious. And then I'd alternate that meal, because that was a meal in itself, with a meal of dates. Sit down and have a whole meal of dates. And once in a great while, if I wanted to space myself out, I'd have a little spirulina, but I had a lot of energy, I'd be rollerblading around, Anywho, so I made these crackers, and then when I had the antifreeze poisoning, I couldn't digest the raw starch anymore. It was impossible. And if I ate cooked foods, such as cooked starches, I'd get very sick. Because antifreeze can impact the physiology in various ways. It can give you leukemia, it can give you liver cancer, pancreatic cancer, kidney failure. If you take enough antifreeze, you can just die of kidney failure. My cousin died of kidney failure, and he was a counselor in a prison leading a group of meditators, practice TM, who were taught by TM teachers who would come in and taught them. So he would keep them regular with their meditation along with counseling them. Somebody could have put antifreeze in a little sweet treat and get, here, have some cookies, He never would have known, because antifreeze tastes sweet, yet it has no odor. You're supposed to take activated charcoal right away to get as much antifreeze out of your system as you can before it starts doing genetic damage, because it'll literally mutate your genes. Along with being a carcinogen, it can mutate your genes, and then you get permanent damage. Whatever doesn't turn to cancer just doesn't function properly anymore for the rest of your life, because it's very hard to replace that with correct genetic material, because it'll simply make copies of itself when the cells are replaced by new cells. So you've got permanent physiological damage, and that's what I've got in various organs. And so I don't digest starches. So now I'm not so sick, because I did apricot pits, and then I did liquid cesium chloride. I've done zapping and magnetic pulsing, and now I'm doing silver. But these are crutches, because they only do so much good, and the rest of the good they bring to the body is a crutch, a temporary crutch, a temporary fix, without which I'd suffer more. But like, let's say 10% of the benefit is actually permanent, or 2%. It's probably more like it. And the other 98% is temporary. Well, that's still better than nothing, and that's still pretty good. So they do, all of those things, therapies do some kind of a permanent alteration, but it's very minor permanent alteration. Most of the alteration is temporary, and it's a temporary fix, and it helps keep me going. But starch is one of the things that I have a trouble breaking down, and it's still a problem, and I don't know what to do about it. But I'm learning. There are 3 crutches, count them 3, when taken together, help alleviate the need for wanting, the desire for starch. And this is very interesting. One of those 3 is sunshine on the skin. And exercise to go with that. You're not just laying around. Fresh air and exercise. So sunshine is one. The second one is silver, of all things. And if you're going to ingest silver, now you need beeswax, because you're going to get an upset belly if you don't take beeswax. Excuse me, I'm burping. I'm swallowing air as I'm talking. Beeswax, silver, and sunshine. And of course, if you're taking beeswax, now you got to take oils, and that's 4 things, because you don't want the beeswax to stick to your teeth, because you got to chew the beeswax. If you just swallow it whole, you'll get some benefit. It'll come out whole, almost the same way, more or less intact, the way you swallowed it whole when you poop. But as it courses through the alimentary canal, the surface of the wax will slide off a few molecules on its way through, and so you'll get some beeswax coming off the surface, but you'll get more if you chew it up. And how can you chew it? It's sticky. So you melt it with oil, and you re-solidify it by cooling it, and now you've got chewable beeswax. So it's really 4 items. But the oil is a delivery mechanism to help deliver the beeswax, and probably a digestive mechanism to help you digest it, because it'll stimulate bile secretions along with the presence of silver. So it's really 4 items. So it's oil, beeswax, silver, and sunshine. And salt comes in there, and it helps gastric secretion. So it's 5 items. But those 5 items do something very peculiar. I licked my fingers that I was handling a silver electrode because I had to reshape it to put it in a different... I had to put it in a glass pitcher that was more narrow than the glass beaker that I had my apparatus operating to make colloidal silver water. And I never clean my electrodes. I've got into the habit of never cleaning them. Since I have this high-power machine, it says don't clean them. So, okay, I don't clean them anymore. But I had to handle it, so I got silver on my fingers. And I thought, okay, now what do? I have silver on every single finger, so I'm not going to waste it. So I licked my fingers. And this time the silver came off onto my tongue. It's slowly dissipating. But I don't have as much yeast on my tongue now that I've been eating silver. Aha! I don't have as much white coating. But I still have some, because I still have candida. So where was I? Oh, so I had to handle this. Yes, so I licked my fingers, and I got silver on my tongue this morning, and a very interesting thing happened. This morning, before I licked, I thought, oh, I'm going to go back to eating starch. I have all this pot of cooked rice in the fridge. I'm going to have some rice today, I bet, with some refried beans. And then when I licked my fingers and got all that silver into my system, and it starts working its way down to my stomach, I start feeling a little weird in my stomach, like I'm bloated. And I thought, that's weird. Silver gives me a bloated feeling? No, I'm simply probably getting awareness that my stomach was bloated all along. And it's scaling it down. See, this is what the weird thing that happens, the ironic thing that happens. When we have something happen to us that's not exactly healthy, at the same time, we lose awareness. We lose sensitivity in that area, so we don't know what's going on. And the two happen at the same time. And the same thing happens with the mind. When the mind gets stressed, it gets amnesia or a sensitivity to that area in the psyche which receives that stress. So when we unstress, we gain awareness of the stress's presence on its way out, and we go, oh my God, because we're unstressing. No, we're not unstressing. We're gaining awareness of the presence of the stress that had been there all along as it's making its way out, or when it's about to make its way out, because it's going to be catapulted, or yanked out due to some methodology, let's say deep rest, that allowed our mind to release the stress. But it released it because it's gaining awareness in the area that the stress is lodged. Well, it's no different in the body. If you've got a plaque buildup in the arteries, let's say around or inside your heart, you can have various painful experiences when the plaque gets ripped off, or let's say ripped off, because it's stuck. But when it's stuck to the inside of the arteries, you lost sensitivity, you lost awareness that it got stuck there in the first place. And when it comes off, you gain awareness very quickly, and it can be painful and a bit shocking to find out, oh, I've got plaque buildup in the arteries associated or inside my heart. It's, oh my God. Well, this is what poor health or loss of health means. It means loss of awareness in that area of the physiology or mind or emotions or whatever associated with where that stress has been lodged. So when it dislodges, we regain awareness of that body part or mind part or part of our emotions. Now, the grief comes out. Oh, I don't know why I'm grieving. All of a sudden I'm grieving. I don't know why. Well, it could be unstressing because you had some maybe deep rest and the emotion is being dislodged. And you're regaining awareness at the same time. So it can discourage people. Say, I don't want to go through this. How else do you expect to get rid of it? Die? Then you'll have the pain of dislodgement all at once when your soul gets unstuck from all the stressed body, from the stressed body that you're attached to. Because stress is sticky. It causes the soul to have, or the mind actually, of the individual to be stuck to the physiology, and the process of extracting that mind from the body and brain means going through, reliving all of that stress all at once. But now you don't have a choice because you're dead. So wouldn't you rather go through it when you're alive in little bitty pieces, so that when death happens you don't have to go through that? That's what enlightenment, that's one of the side benefits of cosmic consciousness, is to not have to go through that at the time of death. Because you've gone through it in little bitty steps, baby steps, of removal, throughout your career as a yogi, as a practicing yogi. So that, it's our choice. Anyway, getting back to the silver. So I lost my desire for cooked starch. And I'm thinking, okay, well, I lost my desire for anything, and now I'm getting a little appetite. But it's not the same thing. It's not the same as before. So it shows that I had a missing element in my diet, and that was sunshine. And not just fresh air and exercise. Fresh air, exercise, and sunshine. Those three things. So actually, how many are we up to now? 7? Fresh air, exercise, sunshine, silver, beeswax, oil, and salt. Yeah, that's 7 things. So as 7 necessities, everything else being extra, in terms of digestion, that has nothing to do with bathing. This just has to do with oral ingestion. 7 items of interest, and 3 of them have nothing to do with what we take through the mouth. Now it's, sunshine taken through the skin, and fresh air taken through the skin, bare skin, as much bare skin as possible, and exercise helping the circulation negotiate what the skin is receiving, the fresh air and sunshine. So it's both oral ingestion and absorption through the skin, but it's 7 items, and it's not related to the bath. So for all I know, it may replace the bath. No, it doesn't, because I come back and I have to take the bath to hydrate the skin and treat it because of the sun exposure. So it's not a substitute for the bathing in silver hydroperoxide and MSM and a mineral bath salt, a mineral salt of some of one form or another of your choice. It's not a substitute. It's an adjunct. So it just adds to the list of necessities. So I guess the hydrogen peroxide, MSM, and bath mineral salt is 3 extra items. So that makes 10 altogether. But each is used in a different way. 7 items, or 4 items, 3 items, and 3 items. 4, 3, and 3. So different groups of items used in different ways. 3 having to do with outside activity, 3 having to do with the bath, and 4 having to do with what we ingest. Well, with those 10 items, it becomes a much more complete system, and I don't want to eat starch now. I'm tempted. I'm tempted with the thought that I could possibly not enjoy starch anymore, and I'd be much better off without it. Actually, now I remember what the purpose of this video was. It's because of the beeswax that I really don't need, the beeswax and salt, that I really don't need vegetables anymore. Because, see, I put lemon juice on my food, and I'm learning to put lemon juice on my nut butter, my raw sunflower seed butter, which has a little flaxseed in it, as well as some other items like oil and beeswax and silver, and a touch of maple sugar. It goes down, because sunflower seed is a little on the bitter side. Especially, I'm not accustomed to, because these are raw sunflower seeds. So they have a little bitter taste. It's not like cashew butter, which has a sweet taste. Or even almond butter is slightly sweet, in my opinion. So I need something to get things down, and so I decided to squeeze half a lemon and pour it into the container that I use to store the sunflower butter in my fridge. And so last night I spread it around and I ate it with the sunflower butter, and now it's probably soaked into it and softened it up and diffused itself through the top layer of sunflower butter. So it'll be a little better than it was last night, the next time I eat out of it. But that'll make it more tasty, and so I won't have to resort exclusively to sweet dried fruit like dates in order to eat nut butter, because I have this lemon juice in the nut butter helping me eat it. So I'm using lemon juice, and I'm using oranges, because we're surrounded by an orange orchard around our building. And I have beeswax, salt, and oils, and silver, so what do I need vegetables for? If I want trace minerals, I got kelp, powdered kelp. I don't think I put powdered kelp when I made the sunflower butter. Unlike the last time I made my nut butter, I put kelp in it, powdered kelp. I don't think I did it this time. But if I need it, I have tablets, kelp tablets I can swallow. But I certainly don't feel like I need vegetables, and I certainly don't feel like I mean, not that I wouldn't enjoy, cook some winter squash or something, but I can get by without it, and I might be able to get by without starches. And this is very interesting. This is very interesting. Because now that I have upgraded my digestion of oil by stimulating bile secretion, now it's possible for me to get calories from oil. Whereas previously, when I would go on a starch-free diet, I would then get a hunger for oil, but I couldn't digest it. And it gave me problems. Vascular problems, it gave me intestinal problems, mostly vascular, because it was leaking into my circulatory system and impeding circulation, blood circulation. I have, I think, what's called leaky gut syndrome. I'm pretty sure of it. And so I can get allergens that I wouldn't otherwise get. And I can get reactions to, if I have a starch-free diet and I'm upping my oil intake, then I get oil in my circulation. That's not a good thing. So the fact that I can digest oils now means, or implies, that there is no need for leaky gut syndrome. Because I think leaky gut syndrome comes out of a need. That our digestion is not functioning properly, and so our gut is deciding, okay, let's open up the porosity of the size of the opening along the wall of the interior of the intestinal tract to let in larger size molecules instead of restricting to just small size molecules, because that's what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to restrict to, actually, it's not even supposed to allow any molecules through. It's supposed to let through only ions, things that are dissolved. So the process of digestion is a chemical factory intended to dissolve our nutrients so that we can absorb it as an ion into our bloodstream, which is totally safe. But if we absorb anything else other than ions, such as molecules, now we've got the potential for allergic autoimmune response. Because the food particles, the molecules, the white blood cells are reacting to them as if they're foreign invaders. That's no good. So I think this new inclusion of beeswax and silver into my diet and oil has really prompted a whole new realm of experience in which I actually digest oil. And so the prospect of me switching over, just like an Eskimo, they don't have starch in their diet. They get along just fine on blubber for their calories. But I've never been able to do that. Now I think I can. And on a restricted diet of not being able to eat starch for some, not knowing the trick to, or the crutch, the technique, the protocol that would help me digest starch, but at least I've learned the technique to help me digest oil, so I'm halfway there. So it might pay for me to stay away from starch. It just might pay. Because now I have these 10 items of interest to both bathe in, exercise, and ingest orally to help me get by without starch, quite possibly. That doesn't mean I don't take supplements. I take supplements. I take magnesium malate, I take an iron sulfate, I take a B complex, methylated B complex. On occasion I'll take potassium iodide. On rare occasion I'll take iodoral, which has both potassium iodide and iodine. What else? I take diatomaceous earth. I take kelp. I take turmeric. I take ground flaxseed meal, if you think of that as a supplement. Slippery elm. I take slippery elm powder. So I take supplements, both herbal and vitamins and minerals. But on rare occasion, I'll take zinc gluconate, but I don't know if I have much cause for that. And on even more rare occasion, I'll take raw fish if I have to, blended with raw butter. But that's been very unnecessary of late. I really don't need it, because I've been eating silver in large quantity. The powdered silver, colloidal silver,
because of my use of beeswax to extract silver from colloidal silver water. So I don't have to take the water, I just take the silver. That's been very advantageous. So now I'm seeing that if I take the silver even without beeswax and oil, just the silver powder from the electrodes, either wiping them down with my fingers, well, that's what I've been doing. I haven't really been licking the electrodes, but wiping them down with my fingers, and then licking my fingers. And the negative electrode, not the... My machine is not alternating polarity, even though I hear it clicking. I kind of assumed if something went wrong, because I monkeyed with the set screws inside, so it doesn't switch anymore. So the black electrode is probably the positive. No, let me think. No, it's the other way around. The black must be the negative, because that's the one losing most of the material, while the positive won't be losing anything, and that's why it's not turning black, and it merely attracts material towards it, kind of like a magnet effect. But it's ionic. Yeah. It's voltage driven. Well, yeah, voltage driven, that's right. It's anyway. So, when I wipe those dry, it's white, which shows that the silver has oxidized all by itself, just because of electrolysis. While the silver associated with the other electrode is black, which shows that it's not oxidized. It's reduced silver, but it's porous, which causes it to be black. So it's very interesting. So having a non-alternating colloidal silver generator in which the polarity does not swap means you can pick and choose which electrode to wipe with your fingers, and the black will come off and stick to your fingers, and it's very hard to get off. You have to use soap and scrape with your fingernails, while the silver powder coming off your other electrode, your white electrode, if you're not swapping a polarity, actually comes off your fingers very readily. All I have to do is lick it off. It's not totally white. It's kind of a gray white, but it's a whitish gray. Let's put it that way. It's not black. And it comes off very readily. It doesn't stick to your fingers, and you get the silver. Either way, all you need is the silver. It doesn't matter what color it is. It doesn't matter whether it's oxidized, because we're talking about oral ingestion here. All it has to do is be powdered silver. So, monkeying with the machine to drive up the amperage and voltage all the way and get it not to shut off at when it reached 15 parts per million, must have overridden the polarity swap, because it doesn't swap anymore. And that's why I was chewing out my inner electrodes, and I had to rewire it to do things differently, because I was getting an unequal degradation of my silver electrodes, which is not right. They should degrade evenly, or else I'm wasting silver. Because that's the whole point of running a colloidal silver generator, is the degradation of the electrodes. That's the whole point. Producing colloidal silver particles. So, this is how to wipe clean with your fingers the electrodes of your colloidal silver generator, is by not swapping polarity. And wiping down, I think it's the positive. I'll pause this taping session to check, because I believe I know which one is my positive and which one is my negative, the way I have it rigged. This Pro 7 from Silvergen uses a stereo jack as its plug, and of course the stereo jack has 3 contacts, and I think the positive is, the negative is the center tap, if I'm not mistaken, the tip of the stereo plug, which amounts to being the center tap. So I think that's the negative, but I'm not sure. Actually, I think that's the negative. I'll check. Anyway, if so, then that's the one that leads to the silver electrode that turns black. So that's what I'm going to be checking for, is polarity, and is that leading to the black electrode as opposed to the whitish gray electrode, which should ostensibly be the positive, the anode, because it fails to. And it's the coil wire. I set it up this way on purpose because I wanted to destroy the silver plates evenly, but I also wanted to destroy the silver plates alone, and not the coiled silver wire that's going around the perimeter of my beaker, but the silver plates that are in the center. I might as well get up and show you a picture. Turn my camera around so you don't see me. Up and at 'em. Okay. Here we go. So, we've got the silver plates in the center, and then we got the silver coil going around the perimeter. And so the coil never turns black. And so I'm pretty sure that's positive. But I'll have to pause the video to get out my little digital meter to check. So let me pause the video here. The most amazing thing, the polarity is swapping. Yeah, I read 9.7 volts, which isn't a whole lot of volts. It's supposed to be 65. I think my machine is wearing down. No wonder it's not producing as fast as it was. I've been running this thing continually, night and day. It's taking a considerable amount of time, and I'm not producing the same amount either. My machine is going to die on me. $700 machine, what a waste. Oh well, better luck next time. But the polarity is swapping, and so for some uncanny reason, the plates, the silver plates are black, and the coil silver wire surrounding the plates are whitish gray, yet the polarity is swapping. Go figure. I don't know what's going on. What do I know? Does it have to do with the fact that the silver plates are in the center of the vortex of the spinning water, and the coil of water is around the periphery? I don't know. What do I know?